Hello everybody, welcome to the group day. Today I'm doing a follow-up on the trend of talk we started the last time. The last time we're talking about tardigrade entrepreneur and talking about the fact that there is a stage in the life of tardigrades that they move from, like they shut down their metabolism and switch from their metabolic form of existence to cryptobiosis. When they find out that the environment is no longer friendly, maybe the radiation is too much, there is lack of water, they can shut down their entire system. 99% of their system, they will only be surviving in little or nothing, and they can be at that form for up to like 30 years. And today I'm moving the thought a bit forward. We'll be talking about the silent years of cryptobiosis. Like I said, tardigrade has the way of shifting into the state of cryptobiosis, where they shut down everything based on the fact that things are not working in the environment, and it has to devise, it has an intelligence that it used to switch into a different state of existence in order to be able to survive in difficult time. And today we're moving that thought forward, talking about the fact, the silent years of cryptobiosis. Now, the word crypto is the same thing as hidden, and the word biosis is life. Now, in every business, there's always that, particularly at the beginning, or maybe at a particular point in time, there's usually that stage where it looks as if things are not the way they ought to be, and most time it's a very discouraging point of reference for an entrepreneur and investor. And most of the time you find out that, like they always said, that most companies shut down in the first 10 years of existence. Now, they might have gotten to that point where it looks as if things are not working and they just want to walk away, haven't done all that they thought they could do. Now, the fact is this, like I said, crypto means hidden and biosis means life. Now, there is an hidden life in every business. There is an hidden life in every business. And one thing that I strongly, looking at Africa, looking at Nigeria, I read a lot of books, and one of the things that I must say that I'm not so impressed about is the fact that we talked about successful business and we never talk about the fact of how the entrepreneurs, how the investors, how the pioneers of such business, what they went through, the rejection, the failure, the pain, the disappointment. You hardly find record of such. Now, in Africa, we really don't keep data of our failure. I don't know why. We only talk about the successful part, and what that has done is that they have created a misinterpretation in the psyche of upcoming investors, that most time when they go into business and they start facing things that their mentor, the business they're looking up to, there is no record of difficulty or hard times that they went through, and the young entrepreneur had the tendency of becoming frustrated and closing the business. Now, looking at it, I went through some, the story of Colonel Sanders, talking about the fact, how did he start in business? After retirement, he started a restaurant, and the restaurant was moving fine. I'm talking about the owner of KFC now, the man that started KFC, Colonel Sanders. And the restaurant was moving fine until the state decided to create a different highway, a new interstate highway that diverted the route of most cars, and most of the cars have to take a different route. And suddenly the business wasn't doing fine, and he was wise enough to know that it was not a time for him to inject more money, which is what most young entrepreneurs usually do. When things are not working, you tend to spend more on advert, you spend more, you buy more resources, you keep pumping money into it, thinking if you can put more in, get more investors, put more money into it, things will work out. But let's take a cue from Colonel Sanders. When he found out that the highway changed, he moved his business from the metabolic state into the cryptobiosis state. What do I mean? He was no longer looking for how to pump more money into business. he quickly think of the next intelligent thing to do. Okay, instead of looking for how to bring more people in, he went with the idea of selling the recipe of his chicken, the chicken he was selling. He started moving from one restaurant to the other. Now this man went to 110 restaurants, 1,010 restaurants, 1,009 restaurants, and they all turned him down. Now if he had given up, you would have not seen KFC today. He went to from one, and he was keeping record. This man was keeping record of his rejection, seemingly failure, and each time he said something very powerful. He said there is nothing wrong, they just didn't get it. That is what he kept telling himself whenever they didn't agree with what he was pitching. And he kept going like that. 1,009 restaurants, 1,009 turn downs, and he just kept keeping record. It was in the 1,010th restaurant that he went to that he finally got a yes. I'm talking 1955. That he finally got a yes. Now this man went from one restaurant to the other for 2 years. The same thing you find out in the life of Walt Disney. When it was time for him to build the Disney World, he went to 300 investors, over 300 investors, and they kept turning him down. And this man kept keeping record of his turn down. What about our shows? He went to over 200 investors, and each time they gave him a turn down, he kept record. Now for the upcoming entrepreneurs, for the person that is currently in business, and you find out that things are not working the way it ought to work, now there is something called the silent years of cryptobiosis, where you